Some stories begin quietly, but they carry storms inside them. Mine started on an ordinary morning, yet my heart already knew that nothing about my life would remain ordinary again. As you read this, I want you to feel close to me, like we are sitting together under the same sky, sharing one long breath before the truth unfolds. Before we go on, please comment where you are watching or reading from. Let us know your country or city, so we can connect as one family and continue to pray for one another wherever we are in the world. My name in this story is Daniel, and the year was 2012. At that time, I was 15 years old. I lived in a small town where everyone knew everyone else, and where faith was not just a belief but a rule that shaped daily life. From the moment I could walk, my path had already been chosen for me. I was born into a Muslim family, and I was expected to live and die as one. My days followed a strict pattern. I woke up early, washed my face, and joined the others as they practiced what they had been taught. I went to school, returned home, and spent evenings listening to elders explain life, faith, and obedience. I learned what was allowed and what was forbidden. I learned when to speak and when to stay silent. I learned that questions were dangerous. At home, my father was respected and feared. People listened when he spoke. My mother followed his lead and made sure the house stayed in order. I was taught that obedience showed strength and that doubt showed weakness. When lessons about faith were shared, I listened carefully, not because I understood everything, but because I did not want to be noticed for the wrong reason. Outside our house, the community watched closely. Neighbors noticed who attended prayers and who missed them. They noticed how children behaved and what families taught them. It felt like living inside a glass box where every move could be seen and judged. Even as a child, I felt that pressure sit heavily on my chest. At school, the same rules followed me. Teachers repeated what religious leaders said. Friends reminded each other of expectations. When someone acted differently, whispers followed. I learned early that safety came from blending in. So I memorized words, followed routines, and hid my thoughts deep inside. Still, inside me, something felt unsettled. I did not have the words for it then. I only knew that fear followed me more than peace. When others spoke of comfort and faith, I felt confusion instead. I wondered why belief felt like a weight instead of rest. These thoughts stayed locked in my heart because I had been shown what happened to people who questioned too much. Sometimes I watched older boys who had been punished. I saw how one of them was beaten after being accused of disrespect. Another was chased away from the neighborhood after rumors spread about him. These moments were not explained kindly. They were used as warnings. Adults revealed to us that obedience kept us alive and that disobedience brought suffering. At home, discipline was strict. Mistakes were corrected quickly and painfully. I learned to control my face, my voice, and my eyes. I learned how to nod even when I did not understand. I learned how to agree even when my heart felt heavy. Love was present, but it came with conditions tied closely to faith. There were nights when I lay awake listening to the sounds of the town settling into silence. In those moments, my thoughts grew louder. I wondered about life beyond our streets. I wondered if faith could feel gentle. I wondered why fear was used so often to teach devotion. These questions made me feel alone, like I was carrying a secret too heavy for my age. I had seen what persecution looked like, even before it touched me directly. I saw families torn apart because someone chose a different path. I saw anger rise quickly, replacing compassion. I saw how religion, meant to guide, became a weapon in the hands of those who wanted control. These scenes stayed in my memory, shaping my understanding of danger. Yet, I still tried to be a good son, a good student, a good believer. I followed instructions carefully. I repeated what was taught. I kept my head down. On the outside, I looked like everyone else. On the inside, I felt like I was slowly disappearing. Looking back now, I understand that this was the beginning of my inner conflict. This was the season before the storm. I did not yet know that my life would soon change in ways that would bring pain, rejection, and repeated attacks. I only knew that I was standing at the edge of something unknown. This chapter of my life was quiet but tense. It was filled with control, fear, tradition, and silent questions. It was the foundation of everything that followed. Before faith became a choice, before persecution became personal, before survival became a daily struggle, this was where my story began. Some questions are soft at first, but they grow into fire. Once they begin, they refuse to sleep, and they burn quietly until life is forced to change. What happened next did not come with noise at the beginning. It came with fear, watching eyes, and pain that slowly learned my name. The questions inside me became stronger as days passed. They followed me to school. They followed me home. They followed me into the night. I noticed that fear was always used to guide people. I noticed that kindness was spoken about, but anger was shown more often. These thoughts made my chest feel tight. One afternoon, I met a man who was different. He was calm. He was not loud. He helped people without asking for praise. He noticed my silence and showed me kindness through his actions. Later, he revealed to me stories about faith that focused on love, forgiveness, and hope. He did not push me. He only showed me another way to think. I began to listen quietly. I did not argue. I only observed. I noticed that his peace was real. I noticed that he was not ruled by fear. These moments planted something new in me. I felt both comfort and danger at the same time. Soon, people around me started to change their behavior. Some friends avoided sitting near me. Others watched me closely. A teacher once showed me anger through punishment that felt heavier than my mistake deserved. I sensed that rumors were forming. Fear returned, stronger than before. At home, tension grew. My silence was noticed. My absence from certain gatherings was questioned. My father showed his anger through long stares and harsh discipline. My mother revealed her fear by warning me through tears and gestures. I understood that love in my home was now mixed with suspicion. One evening, I was followed on my way back from school. Stones were thrown near my feet. I was pushed to the ground. Hands struck me. They showed me pain without mercy. I was not asked questions. I was not allowed to explain. They wanted fear to speak louder than my heart. I returned home bruised, dirty, and shaking. The next days were worse. Insults became daily. Threats were shown through actions, not words. My school bag was torn. My books were damaged. I was isolated during breaks. Hunger felt easier than sitting among those who hated me. Fear became my shadow. One night, I was dragged out of sleep. I was beaten with objects that left marks on my back and legs. They revealed to me that choosing a different path meant suffering. They wanted obedience through pain. I cried silently, afraid that noise would bring more punishment. I learned to hide my wounds. I learned to clean blood quietly. I learned to smile when my body ached. I learned how persecution works. It attacks the body, but it aims for the soul. Despite the pain, the questions did not leave. Instead, they grew clearer. I realized that truth should not need violence to survive. I realized that faith built on fear was already broken. These thoughts gave me strength, even as my body weakened. This chapter of my life was filled with fear, confusion, and pain. It was the moment when belief became a risk. It was when persecution stopped being something I watched and became something I lived. And deep inside, I knew that worse days were still ahead. Sometimes hope comes quietly, even when danger is loud. What saved my heart did not stop the pain at once, but it gave me strength to stand while everything else tried to break me. This was the moment my life crossed a line that could never be erased. After the attacks, I became careful with every step. I watched shadows. I listened before I moved. Fear lived with me, but it did not control my thoughts anymore. The questions inside me had now grown into a clear hunger for truth. I wanted peace, not threats. I wanted love, not force. I began meeting secretly with the man who had shown me kindness. He revealed to me stories about Jesus through simple actions and calm teaching. He showed me how faith could be gentle. He showed me how love could exist without fear. I noticed that his life matched what he believed. That difference touched my heart deeply. One night, I was dragged outside again. This time, they burned my books, they tore my clothes, they beat me until I could not stand. They wanted to erase my identity. I remember lying there, breathing slowly, feeling pain in every part of my body. Yet inside, I felt peace I had never known before. That night, I understood the cost of my decision. Faith was no longer an idea. It was a wound. It was loneliness. But it was also truth. I knew that even if my body suffered, my spirit had found its home. This chapter marked my true transformation. I had found a new faith, and with it came deeper persecution. The road ahead promised more pain, more loss, and more danger. But for the first time in my life, I knew why I was willing to endure it all. There is a point where pain stops warning you and starts chasing you. That was the season when my life became a daily escape from hands that wanted to destroy me. When I lived through this chapter, still weighs my body before my mind froze. The attacks did not stop after my faith. Instead, they multiplied. Danger followed me like a shadow. Every day felt like walking in broken glass. I did not know where safety was. People no longer treated me. Men waited for me in their corners. Boys my age joined them, trying to prove loyalty and cruelty. They showed me that hatred can be taught early. When they saw me, they pushed me, slapped me, threw dirt on my clothes. They wanted me to be smart. One morning, on my way to school, I was surrounded. Hands grabbed my shirt. I was dragged into a narrow space between buildings. They beat me with fists and stones. My head hit the wall. My ears rang. My vision blurred. They revealed to me through pain that I no longer belonged among the living in their eyes. I did not cry out. I learned that sound invited more violence. When they left, I stayed on the ground until my breathing returned. Blood ran from my nose. My legs shook as I stood. I still went to school that day, carrying pain like a secret. At school, things were worse. Teachers ignored my injuries. Some showed approval through silence. Other students avoided me, afraid they would be punished too. I sat alone. Hunger stayed with me because sharing space felt dangerous. Loneliness became a constant companion. At home, my suffering continued. I was blamed for bringing shame. I was denied care. Wounds healed slowly without medicine. Nights were the hardest. I slept lightly, afraid of being dragged out again. Sometimes I was beaten by people I trusted to protect me. They showed me that love could turn into violence when belief is challenged. One night, a group came for me again. They tied my hands. They struck my back repeatedly. My body burned with pain. They wanted me to deny my faith. They believed pain could change truth. When I collapsed, they left me on the ground like waste. I remember lying there, staring at the sky. Stars watched silently. My body felt broken, but my heart was awake. I understood that persecution was not only about hurting the body, it was about stripping dignity, safety, and hope. It was about making someone feel less than human. There were days I could not walk properly. There were days my ribs hurt with every breath. There were days I wished for sleep without waking. Yet even then, something inside me refused to die. Compassion grew where anger should have lived. Strength grew where fear was planted. People whispered that I deserved what I was receiving. Others avoided my family completely. Doors closed. Help disappeared. I became invisible except when someone wanted to hurt me. This was the cost of my decision, and it was paid daily. This chapter of my life was soaked in pain. It was repeated attacks, repeated fear, repeated survival. It showed me the true face of persecution. And as terrible as it was, it prepared me for the final test that still waited ahead. Some people think the story ends when the pain becomes too much. But this is where my story found its meaning, right in the middle of suffering that refused to let me go. What happened next was not the end of my pain, but it was the beginning of my hope. By this time, my body carried many scars. Some were easy to see. Others lived deep inside me. I walked slowly because my legs still hurt from past beatings. I slept lightly because fear still followed me into the night. Every sound made my heart race. Every shadow felt like danger. I had lost many things. I lost my place at school. I lost friends. I lost the safety of home. I lost the feeling of being wanted. People treated me like I was already dead. They showed me rejection through silence and cruelty. They revealed to me that persecution does not always come with noise. Sometimes it comes with being ignored, abandoned, and forgotten. There were days when food was hard to find. I depended on small kindness from strangers who showed compassion quietly. One woman once cleaned my wounds without asking questions. Another man showed me a safe place to rest for a short time. These moments reminded me that God had not abandoned me, even when people had. The attacks did not stop completely. I was still chased. I was still threatened. Once I was beaten again and left near a road. My body was weak, but my faith was strong. I remember lying there, breathing slowly, asking God for strength to forgive those who hurt me. That was not easy. Forgiveness felt heavier than pain. But it healed me in ways revenge never could. I learned how to survive quietly. I moved carefully. I trusted slowly. I prayed often. Each prayer gave me courage to face another day. I understood that following Christ did not promise safety, but it promised purpose. My suffering was not meaningless. It was a testimony. Even though persecution tried to destroy me, it failed to destroy my faith. Instead, it made it stronger. I learned that true belief is proven in fire. I learned that love is real when it chooses forgiveness over hatred. I learned that hope can live even in the darkest places. Today, as I look back, I speak for many others who cannot speak. There are people like me across the world. They are beaten, they are rejected, they are imprisoned. Some lose their lives simply because they choose to follow Jesus. Their pain is real. Their tears matter. To my brothers and sisters in Christ around the world, I encourage you to pray for those who are persecuted for their faith. Pray for strength for them. Pray for protection. Pray that their hearts will not grow bitter. Pray that their suffering will bring light to others. And to anyone reading this who feels far from God, who wants to turn away from sin and find new life, you can begin today. Come before God with a humble heart. Acknowledge your sins. Believe that Jesus died and rose again for your salvation. Ask Him to forgive you, to cleanse your heart, and to lead your life from this day forward. Choose to follow Him, not just with words, but with your life. My story is one of pain, but it is also one of hope. Persecution tried to silence me, but faith gave me a voice. And as long as I live, I will stand as proof that light can survive even the darkest storms.